And I did something in this book that I have never done, and I hated when people did in high school. Hey friends, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to do my November wrap-up. Now, I think maybe I read about 18 or 19 books in November. Every month I think, oh, I'm going to read less next month. And you know, like do more other things, like creative things. And then COVID keeps on putting on more restrictions, and more of the things that I was planning on doing outside the home are canceled. So I just keep reading. Yeah, so this reading month, I think I've got my books like spread out in front of me on their piles. I think I've got 2 5 stars, 3 4.5, a ton of 3 stars. It was kind of like a mediocre reading month. A bunch of 3.5 stars, and then a couple on the lower end. So let's just dive in. Like always, I like to start at the lowest and work my way up, so I can spend more time talking about the books that I really enjoyed. A few of these books I talked about in my like mid-month wrap-up. I don't think I'm going to do that again. I wanted to give that a try, but it kind of just felt a little redundant, even though I didn't quite say what I was going to rate the books. My cat's coming here again. She likes to like itch her head on the tripod. It's a thing. So this first book, I think I'm giving 1 star. I know this is going to be unpopular for those people that have probably read this book, but this is Nori Ryan's Song. So this is a middle grade book about a girl in 1840s, I think, when Ireland had like the potato famine, and there was also the land wars between the English and the Irish. It's a very interesting time period to me, but I think I've read 3 books kind of based around then this year, and they've all kind of just been kind of a letdown. This one, I actually really disliked it when I was reading it. It's not even just like that it was like mediocre. I was actually like quite annoyed. So it's called Nori Ryan's Song, and our main character, Nori Ryan, is supposed to have a song, and I don't know. I don't even know what to say, because she never really sings. It talks like once or twice about how she can sing or something. I don't know, I just feel like I missed it, and it's really unfortunate because it's a time period and a like place that I want to know more about, but this just did not do it for me. Also, the ending felt really weird. Apparently this is a series, but I don't care enough to like keep going. So that'll be my last of this series. Then I have 3 books that are 2 stars. The first one was actually an ebook. I thought since it's Christmas time, I'm going to try to read a few Christmas books, and I've got a couple in here. I was hoping for some books that I could recommend. So I started with, I read the ebook, so it's Candy Cane Murder by Joanna Fluke. Quite a few people, when I was asking for like mystery recommendations, but I said I didn't, there was like certain things I don't want to read, like I don't want to read like intimate scenes or like tons of swearing. Quite a few people recommended Joanna Fluke. Now, I don't want to judge all of her writing off of this one book, because it's a Christmas book, and Christmas books are generally a little cheesy, but oh my goodness, this book was so cheesy. This one that I got from the library, the ebook, actually has 3 stories in it, and there's like Joanna Fluke and 2 other authors, I think. I couldn't go any further. It was just too painful. So yeah, I guessed what was happening like right off the bat, and just the dialogue between the characters, I couldn't do it. So I will try another one of her books, but not a Christmas one. Okay, now I feel like maybe a 2-star rating for this book might be a little harsh. I'm actually going to keep this book, so I'm not sure. This is 7 Men and 7 Women. These are 14 biographies of men and women. I I didn't read all of them. That's why I'm keeping it, because I will probably go back and read all of them. I'm considering it done because I got really bored. I started Bonhoeffer by Eric Metaxas and was also really bored. And then I started reading these and got bored, and I was just like, I don't know, how much do you push yourself? So I thought I would keep it, and maybe down the road some of these other stories will be interesting to me and I can try them. But for now, I'm done with this. This next one I did talk about in my mid-month wrap-up, and it's The Brave Learner. This is a homeschool book by Julie Bogart, and I like a lot of what Julie talks about online. She's big into writing and getting kids to like be creative writers and stuff, but this book was like weird. Kind of felt like she was maybe on drugs while writing it. She's not. She's a really nice lady, but it just felt like so out there, like this was written in the 70s. Oh, maybe that was mean. I probably shouldn't have said that. But it was just like, she kept talking about how you want learning to be enchanting, which I totally agree with. But she like overused the word and overused this metaphor of how learning should be magical. And it just felt like really like loopy, like, yeah. So not a homeschool book I would recommend. Okay, now we're on to my stack of 3 stars. So I did read The Weed That Strings the Hangman's Bag. This is book 2 in a series, where I read on the front here actually, it says Harriet the Spy by way of Agatha Christie with a dash of Lemony Snicket and the Addams Family. I disagree with that. I would say Harriet the Spy crossed with Sherlock Holmes. So these are like adult mystery books, but our main character is an 11-year-old girl who is a like big into chemistry kind of thing. And this is kind of in the, what year is this set? I want to say it was like 50 to somewhere in like the 1950s-ish, maybe, kind of like set around that time. I don't remember what I thought about book 1. I obviously liked it enough that I bought more books in the series, but for this one, it took over 100 pages for the mystery to start. And I don't know, I didn't enjoy it a whole lot. It's a 3-star, it's like kind of mediocre. I'm hoping the rest in the series are better, but now I'm like really curious. Another 3-star, this was my first Ruth Ware book, The Turn of the Key. Yeah, so I thought it was an interesting story. This one follows a nanny who goes to work in a smart home. There are some twists I did not see coming. The ending, I actually, like, it made me think a lot, but there's a lot I didn't enjoy in the process. I was actually an au pair in England back right after high school, so years ago. So this, like, there were certain things that kind of felt familiar to me. It wasn't a smart home, but I mean, like, that was way too long ago for that. But I did work for a family that lived above their means and lived in a huge house. I think there was like 6 or 7 bathrooms that I cleaned each week, and it was crazy. But this book, I don't know, there was a lot of swearing, felt quite needless, but there was some really good twists. So I don't know, 3-ish stars, I'd say. Then I wanted to give Danny a Petri a try, so I got The Killing Tide. Partially because I really like this cover, and partially because Oshina keeps talking about it. It felt like a very typical Christian romantic suspense to me. I had a lot of issues with a lot of things, but I did appreciate the faith talk throughout and that aspect of the book. For that reason, it's a 3-star and not like lower, but I'm definitely not continuing with this series. I have read that people like her Alaskan Courage series better, so I'm going to give that one a try. Like, I saw on Goodreads someone that had some of the same problems with the book that I did. They really recommended the Alaskan Courage series, so I'm gonna try the first book in that one and see where that goes. Yeah, this one was just very average and tropey. Like, it fit every single trope I remember from romantic suspense, Christian romantic suspense. Feels very much like D. Henderson's books, actually. Then I've got The Doll Maker of Krakow. This is a middle grade book that has like some magic, but it's set in World War II. So our main character, or a sub-main character, I guess, he brings this doll to life. And the doll is actually our main character. And they kind of like go through a few years of World War II together. And it felt really weird when I was reading it. And at the end, it felt really heartwarming. Not heartwarming, it's more like heartbreaking, actually. I don't think it's a middle grade book that middle grade kids would actually like. I think this is more for adults, but I had to pick it up because of the cover, and I wanted to push through because it's an interesting concept, but I don't think it was amazing. I am bound and determined to pick up a Victoria Schwab that I really like. So this one is City of Ghosts. This is a middle grade book, and I wouldn't say I really liked it, but it was better than the other one of her books that I've read. This one I think I might have liked in middle school. Our main character is like 12-ish or something. Her parents actually write novels about like chasing ghosts and stuff, ghost mysteries or something, and they get a TV show to go to Scotland and do some filming there. But what's actually funny is their daughter can actually see a ghost because she almost drowned one time and this guy somehow saved her. Yeah, so she can see the ghosts in Scotland, and it was an interesting, fun little story, but as an adult it wasn't like super amazing. And then we've got The Daughter of Sherlock Holmes. This one is just, I was just looking for like more Sherlock-esque books. This one is actually written by a guy that was a physician. So there's a lot of like medical terminology in here that I feel like I can really appreciate because, you know, he knows what he's talking about. I feel like I can believe him. There's a lot of credibility there. The characters in here were a little bit of cheesy. There was like a romance that develops that I'm like, really? I kept waiting for like some kind of like bomb to drop and be like, just kidding. But no, it was really that cheesy. My cat is scratching my couch. Why do I even have a cat? Yeah, so like if I'm bored, I might continue the series. I did find like the mystery part interesting, but for me, the characters made it, like brought it down, so I'm not sure I would continue it considering how many books I actually want to get to. Okay, now we're on to my 3.5 star books. This is when things start getting like, they start getting good. The first one was Caught in the Act by Gail Roper. I read the first book in this series last month and was pleasantly surprised. For a Christian romance, there was definitely some tropes that I see in every Christian romance, but there was a lot of good things I liked. I like how normal her characters are, and this book was the same. Once again, our main character comes across a dead body. Like, why is it some people just find all the dead bodies? I don't know. I guess as long as they do and I don't, I'm good with it. Yeah, once again, she's pretty normal. This one wasn't as good as the first one, I don't think. There is a lot of like talk about prayer and stuff though, and I appreciate that. So if you're looking for a good Christian romance series so far, I would recommend books 1 and 2. Okay, I don't know. Am I allowed to show this book? I think people are going to be disappointed that I only gave this one 3.5 stars, since some people were wanting me to read it for a few months. It's The Great Alone. Okay, so I don't even know where to start here. What genre is this book? Is this like literary fiction, kind of like historical fiction? I'm not sure. It was okay. I actually think this is probably a really good book, but it's just not my kind of book. And I did something in this book that I have never done and I hated when people did in high school. I don't even know if I should tell you. I was about maybe like a third-ish of the way through, and I went and I read the last 2 chapters. Like, I hated it when people did that in high school. I had friends that would always read the last page of the book. And as someone that likes the twists, like, I didn't understand that. But I was just like, do I keep reading? Because I was just, felt like it was dragging. Like, it's a big book. So I went and read the end and I was like, oh, it's worth reading. So I continued because there are kind of some twists, but it's just not really my kind of book. That's all I'll say about that. I guess I should say what it's about. So it starts in the 70s, and our main character is an 11-year-old girl. Her family picks up and moves to Alaska. And then really the rest of the book is years in Alaska. Some of the trials that they have, that part was really interesting actually. The whole like Alaskan setting is really interesting to me. I want to read more books like that. But yeah, I don't know, it just felt long. It kind of felt Kate Morton-esque, where I would like it more if it was like 200 pages shorter. Then I've got You Owe Me a Murder. This is a young adult thriller. It's not very thrilling. So our main character is in an airport and she meets a girl and she tells her that her ex-boyfriend is annoying and sometimes she wishes she could kill him, and they make a pact. I'll kill your ex-boyfriend if you kill my mother. And then her ex ends up dead, and now she has to like hold up her end of the bargain. And it's an interesting concept. It was kind of interesting, but it wasn't like superb. I did like, there was one character in here that was homeschooled, and he was like a really well, like as a parent that homeschools, I like to see homeschoolers represented well. And he was very polite and nice, and I kept waiting for him to be like the bad guy, and he never was. So I'm like, yes, that's like a point for the homeschoolers. But yeah, not really something I would like want to pick up again, but it was an interesting, I think I read it in like 3 hours, like afternoon read. Okay, this one I picked up solely because of the cover. I just love this picture. Like, it makes me wish my hair was like, I don't know, my hair is like brown with a little bit of red, but I wish I kind of like had like a fiery red like this. Anyway, this is a YA book that's kind of like a pirate story. Our main character was left on an island of like thieves and killers and robbers. Wait, thieves and robbers is the same thing. Anyway, a terrible kind of island with terrible people, when she was, what, like 12-ish maybe, by her father. And he told her if she can survive, come and find him. But she has to like find the money, and yeah. So this is kind of like her journey to find her father. And it felt very YA, but the whole like pirate thing was interesting. I appreciated that our characters were like flawed and wounded. They're spunky because they have to be tough because they're making their way amongst all these people that are terrible people. But you know, they're really wounded, and yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting read. It's apparently going to be a duology, so book 2 is coming out, or is already out. I'm not sure. So I think I'll probably read book 2. If this was going to be like a 4-book series, I don't think I would continue. Okay, and then I read A Heart So Fierce and Broken. This is book 2 after A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which I didn't love, but I enjoyed this one more. So A Curse So Dark and Lonely is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. These are both YA. This one picks up after quite the twist at the end of A Curse So Dark and Lonely. And I can't really say much about it because of the twist. There's also some twists in here that I didn't see coming. So I'll just say that I enjoyed this one more than book 1. Okay, now we're on to 4.5 stars. And this is a book that I picked up for a few different reasons, and I've never heard anyone talk about it. This is the line between. So I picked this up because it's by Tosca Lee, who wrote Forbidden with Ted Dekker. Now, I did not enjoy Forbidden at all, but I wasn't sure if it was because of Ted Dekker or because of her. So I was like, well, I'll pick up one of her books. And I really enjoyed it, like 4.5 stars. So Tosca Lee is a Christian, but this is not a Christian published book, which is interesting to me. There was a few characters who took the Lord's name in vain, which, knowing that she is a Christian who has published with a Christian author before, was kind of like, I wonder why she made that choice when it's so easy to take it out. It wasn't a ton, like I'd say maybe like a dozen times throughout the whole book, but I don't know why that choice was made. Anyway, so our main character, oh man, you guys, like this book just kind of blew me away. Yeah, I don't know. Like the swearing thing kind of brings it down. It could have been a 5-star book. But anyway, our main character lives in a cult. Actually, right at the beginning of the book, she gets kicked out of this cult. And I've never read a book that has been set in a cult before, and I'm just intrigued. It's always interesting because they're like, they take the truth and they just twist it, right? Anyway, she gets out of this cult, and kind of at the same time, there is a worldwide pandemic going on. I've read a couple pandemic books this year, not really on purpose. I had no idea that was a part of this, but this one, like, if this would be a trigger for you, don't read this book, because this one is like so eerily like perfect for right now. This virus is passed through the flu, and people are like, it talks a lot about people wearing masks and gloves and going to the grocery stores and things being shut down, and it, like, I've read Station 11 this year and everything, but this one felt so real. So anyway, there's a pandemic going on. This lady gets out of a cult, kind of like flashback to her time in the cult. It was really intriguing. Like 4.75 stars, I think I would give it. It was a very enjoyable read. If you're not triggered by the pandemic, I think this is a really good time to read it. Okay, then I have No Exit. This one is, yeah, it's not YA, it's an adult thriller. And there is quite a bit of swearing, and there's quite a bit of body horror at the end, which is just a whole lot of violent stuff going on. But in this one, we follow a college girl who is going home for Christmas. It all takes place on Christmas Eve, but she can't get through the mountains because of like this blizzard. So I read this during a blizzard, and that was like the perfect time to read it. So she gets stuck at this rest stop with, I think, 4 other people, and she goes out to her car to get something, and she finds out there is a girl in a cage in the vehicle next to her. And then pretty much the entire rest of the book is her like deciding mentally, like, okay, I have to help this girl, but like, how far am I willing to go? How far am I willing to risk myself to get this girl out? And I really enjoyed that thought process. And there are some twists in here I did not see coming. Loved that. If you like thrillers and you're okay with some swearing and you're okay with like some, I kind of like skimmed the violent pages, but like the twists are so worth it. And then I have a Jamie Jo Wright book, you guys. So this is The House on Foster Hill. This is her debut novel, and I'm giving it 4.5 stars. Like, she did a great job with this. This was a little bit more stereotypical Christian romantic suspense. There was more of a focus on that than the mystery. But, like, the mystery suspense aspect in here is so prevalent today. I can't actually tell you what the main topic is, because it kind of comes out at the end, and that would be like a spoiler. But in this book, this woman ends up dead. So we've got 2 timelines going on. So this is back in, now I have to remember here, 1906. So this lady ends up dead right outside this house, the house on Foster Hill. And it's kind of just always been like this haunted house. And then present day, this woman actually buys Foster Hill, and so she's kind of got her own ghosts going on with her life, and things kind of merge. It was nice and creepy. She's got like so many threads that weave through the story. I feel like in some ways this was a little bit, she had like more going on than in her other books that I've read so far. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Her characters are, I feel like, flawed in a good way. Like they're normal, but they're flawed. Yeah, there was just a few more like tropes and problems with the whole Christian suspense, no, the Christian romance portion of the book that I struggled with, but I still really like her writing and can't wait to read more. Okay, you guys, I have 2 more books to talk about and my battery is blinking at me. So let's see if I can get through this. Let's pick up this one first. This one is Catching Christmas. This is by Terry Blackstock, and honestly, when I did my December TBR, I chose not to pick this for my Christmas book because I thought the back sounded really cheesy. And it does, but you guys, it's so good. I had literal tears running down my face, and almost any time a book can like make me tear up, it's going to be a 5-star. We follow a cab driver who is pretty much the Luke Danes of cab drivers, which, I mean, if a book is going to reference Gilmore Girls, like someone actually calls him like Luke Danes. Apparently he looks like him and he also acts like him. So he's cranky, he's crabby, but he gets this call. I think it's like the week before Christmas. He gets a call. He needs to go pick up this old lady from her house and bring her to an appointment. And he does that and he realizes she's really old. She seems to have like Alzheimer's or something. She's in a wheelchair. He has to bring her to this appointment. And the doctor, like, things are just kind of a mess and everyone's kind of ignoring this woman. And so he kind of like goes above and beyond, does his thing. And throughout the week, he keeps getting calls to help this lady. He pretty much is like her chauffeur for an entire week. He starts out really crabby about it. And one of the like errands that this old lady is doing is she's going to all the single men that she knows and she's trying to get them to come to Christmas to set them up with her granddaughter. Which, I mean, maybe sounds a little stereotypical, but it totally sounds like something my grandmother would do. I just love that. And yeah, so this was like really funny, really sweet. There was lots of humor. There was lots of banter, like even some of the banter between the people and like the stuff that this guy was saying in his head. Like it totally reminded me of Gilmore Girls. If there was ever a book that felt like Gilmore Girls, this would be it. But you add faith on top and Christmas, and yeah, I really enjoyed this. And then my other 5-star book is Safely Home. Oh, this one, so powerful. Okay, so this was written, I think 20 years ago, and it is pretty much, our main character is like a high up CEO kind of guy in the States, and he goes over to China to visit a friend that he went to college with who is living in persecuted church China, and, you know, has to be kind of like under their radar with their church gatherings and their Bibles and all this stuff. This book is so powerful, and like I feel like God knew exactly what he was doing, because I just so happened to be reading through 1st and 2nd Peter during this time, which talks about like the suffering that we will go through as Christians, and I'm just like, my suffering is nothing compared to like what so many people go through. This book was incredibly powerful, and it makes me think about a lot about how I live my life, and, you know, am I really, if I'm not being persecuted, am I even living the way I'm supposed to be living? Such a good book. But okay, here's what I do every month now for the last few months, is I like to give away a copy of one of my favorite books. So these were my 2 5-star books for the month. Normally what I do is I send out a link to my newsletter subscribers to enter this giveaway. This month I'm just taking a break from my newsletter because it's December, and, you know, I'm just trying to like lighten my load for December. So this month everyone can join. So if you are interested in winning one of these books, you get to choose. I will leave a link below where there will be a form, and you can say which book you want to enter and your email address, and then in a couple weeks I don't know, I'll pick a date and put it on the screen. I will pick a winner and I will send that person one of these books. The first time I did it, I got to send a book all the way to India. Last month, I sent a book to Sarah McLachlan, who is apparently not the singer, but you know, in my head, I'll just pretend she was. So I got to send one to the States, and like, where's the next book going to end up? Yeah, so if you've read any of these books, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you disagree with my thoughts on them, feel free to let me know. My star ratings are basically pretty much just like how my reading experience is, not necessarily how good the book is, just how much I enjoyed it and my feelings and thoughts throughout. But yeah, those are my opinions. I'd love to hear yours. Thanks again for watching, guys.